where's all my money gone? You get what I mean? I knew I changed social class when I went from a Tesco meal deal to getting a sandwich from Pret. Right? And I applied for it. I still remember, and I tell everyone, I Wikipedia'd EY. So I walked through that door with very limited knowledge of EY, completely mesmerized by it, and sort of then was like, yeah, I'm going to be here.
Wow.
And 10 years on now, I still walk through that revolving door. I done it this morning, looked up at the screen and just remembered, yeah, I'm still here. When you start up something is your baby. No one knows of it, right? So when I tell you to think about Microsoft, the first thing you think is Bill Gates.
Yes.
When I tell you to think about Tesla, the first thing you think of is Elon Musk. Humans interact with humans find connections with other humans. So we want to assimilate, we want to find the closest connection we can to something. And you can't find that to a brand, you can find it to people though. We realized events attracts attention. Attention attracts influence, and influence attracts decision making. We as Muslims, we have a communal obligation to educate those around us about Islam.
Yes.
And a lot of us think that da'wah is just about making people revert to Islam, which ultimately it is and should be, but it's also about making them realize what is Islam. And you can only do that through conversation, dialogue, and interaction.
Today I'm joined by good friend Mudassar Chaudhry, the former co-chair of EY's Muslim community, which is one of the largest Muslim networks in the UK. He's a well-known public speaker talking all things diversity and inclusion, and a manager in EY's climate change and sustainability practice. Mudassar shared with us the importance of personal branding and how he leveraged that to turn EY Muslim community into the success that it is today, and where it's seen as the role model for other Muslim communities in companies around the country. He also shared with us his take on whether university is really worth it, and his experience as a school leaver starting at the ground in EY and staying there now for over 10 years. An amazing episode. As always, I'm your host, Arib Siddiqui, and this is Muslim Money Talk. Before we begin, we actually noticed only about 10% of you are subscribed to the podcast. So if you like what you're listening to and you want to hear more from us and see more things Muslim and money related, then please consider subscribing and, of course, leaving this episode a like and share it with your friends, leave us a comment or a review, because it really, really does help us out and help more people to find us. Thank you. Now back to the show. Mudassar Chaudhry, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah, I'm really good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, very, very good.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Muslim Money Talk. We're just a short walk away from you.
Yeah, nice 10-minute walk in the rain.
Yeah, from EY, from EY's offices at London Bridge. So this is going to sound a little bit weird to open this up, but you're kind of the reason we started this podcast, or at least you embody the main reason for it, because the way, let me explain. So you self-describe yourself as, formerly you were that young 16-year-old boy from Newham, East London, and you found yourself on this incredible meteoric rise to EY, where you quickly became a chartered accountant at the age of 22. I think it was, so pretty young to have completed that. You then went on to become the youngest ever co-chair of EY's Muslim community. So youngest ever to do it. And you took what was, I think, quite, just a couple of hundred people within that, and you grew it to a community of over 2,400 people around the world, doing over 200 events during your tenure. So much like there was a point where EY Muslim community was like the only community professionally worth talking about. Yeah. So much that you and Ayman did an incredible job of that. And you were recently named one of the top 10 most influential Muslims in the UK in financial and professional services. Yeah. MashaAllah. So just one question for you. Did that 16-year-old boy from Newham ever think this is where you would be in 10 years?
not in a million years. Forget 10 years. It's incredible to think how that 16-year-old, and I still remember, walked out of London Bridge Station, got completely lost. It was the first time using the tube when I came to my first interview for EY. Couldn't find the office, and if you've been to the EY London Bridge office,
yes, I have.
Nestled away a bit in the more London estate.
I was at PwC, so right next door.
Yeah, perfect. So you know exactly what I mean, right? And you had that little river running, which is now closed. So I was there thinking I was running late, even though I wasn't. And I walked through the door, revolving door, and EY's got this really nice big screen just behind its reception, literally like a few hundred feet long, maybe. And I remember I just went like, I was just so mesmerized by the fact that there was such a big screen in this place, because let's be real, the Big Four, these aren't organizations you typically hear of. You know, when you're growing up as a child and people ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's never a Big Four consultant or an accountant.
So by Big Four, you mean the four main professional accounting and consulting advisory bodies. So it's Deloitte, PwC, EY, and KPMG.
Exactly. Yeah. So they sort of are really, really big names in the business world, but your average Joe Bloggs might not know of them as a child, right? So what I knew about EY was very limited. So I walked through that door with very limited knowledge of EY, completely mesmerized by it, and sort of then was like, yeah, I'm going to be here.
Wow.
And 10 years on now, I still walk through that revolving door. I done it this morning, looked up at that screen and just remembered, yep, I'm still here.
It hasn't gotten old yet.
It hasn't grown old.
So tell me about your childhood. So you grew up in East London, and I guess it's, you know, what was it like? What you said you would never have heard of a place like EY. Yeah. So I'd love to know the steps that led to you being 16 years old and going for an interview for what I assume was an internship.
Yeah.
So, you know, what happened?
So, alhamdulillah, my childhood was amazing. I look back at my childhood with a lot of fondness, had loads of fun. Secondary school was a highlight for me, which isn't for a lot of people, sadly, but we just had so much fun. Looking back, did some really idiotic things, probably. Did things that now me would never consider doing, but it was such a great time. And everyone was just themselves. You know, you didn't have to act, you didn't have to put a farce on, you didn't have to be something you're not.
Yeah.
Went to a school that was literally the corner of my road. My primary school was on one corner of the road and my secondary school was on the other corner of the road. So I never left my little cul-de-sac because I didn't need to. When I finished secondary school in year 11, a teacher just took a few of us into a room, maybe I think 15 of us, out of the whole year groups, 180 of us. I was like, I'm signing you up to something called SEO London. Now, SEO, obviously everyone thinks about marketing now, but SEO London was sort of one of the first that I knew of anyway, youth empowerment charities or social mobility organization. And it was funded by a billionaire philanthropist in the US who wanted to give young people from low income or tough backgrounds an opportunity to access higher education, employment, work at some of the top banks and law firms, etc. So we were all a bit like, yeah, we're just out of lesson. This is so much fun. And to fill out a form on the computer and being in the computer room as a 15-year-old back in 2000 and what was it, 11, 12? It was like the epitome of fun, right? So we just did that and never really thought about it. And it wasn't until I was in year 12, I got an email from SEO London, paid internship, apply now.
Okay.
Now, this is when Ramadan used to be in the summer, right? So July, August. So summer's normally a fun time, but when it's Ramadan, you're obviously not doing stupid things and you're not having fun and you're not really going out as much.
What are these stupid things that you keep alluding to?
Just being a teenager, right? Being a teenager, just, going to the park,
right,
doing random things, doing things which I probably shouldn't say on camera, but I can tell you about later. But it's like silly things that you look back at and it was a nice, fun thing to do. It didn't really harm anyone.
Sure.
So nothing like that's harming anyone or causing a nuisance, but just fun things, right? So it's Ramadan, you're not going to do that anyway. And it was summer Ramadan. These are, your 17, 18 hour fasts.
Yeah.
You're tired. So I was like, it's paid, right? And let's be real, where I come from, money has a lot of importance to it. I come from humble backgrounds, alhamdulillah, but I was like, sure, why not? So literally it was paid and apply now, and it's literally just taking some details. What school do you do? What are your grades, etc., etc. And I applied for it. I still remember, and I tell everyone, I Wikipedia'd EY, because Wikipedia was the ultimate, knowledge fountain that we had. And it said EY has revenues of X $billion a year. And I was like, billion is a big number, so probably it's a big company. I'll be honest, never heard of it. Applied, and that's when I came in for that interview. And it was an internship in between year 12 and year 13 in the summer, 3 weeks. I got paid a few £100, which I felt like the richest man in Forest Gate at the time. That's where I grew up and was born. And at the first day of that event, we were on the River Thames in a boat. And because it was Ramadan, everyone was sort of eating. There was about 6, 7 of us Muslims. So we sort of naturally just hustled together because everyone else was eating. So we came out to the deck of the boat, just sitting, and we're just laughing and joking. And just before then, EY had done like a presentation about opportunities after the internship. And they were really pushing the school leaver program. And I was just laughing like, imagine not going to uni. My dad's going to kill me if I don't go to uni. Like, this is not going to happen. And we're just laughing and everyone's talking about, we have to go uni. I don't know, the student fees had just gone up recently. So it's gone from 3 grand to 9 grand. So people were like, but student loan is haram and £9,000 a lot of money. And we were having all of these discussions. And next to me unbeknown to me, was the head of recruitment. Just sat away, literally on his plate, eating away.
Just listening
in, right? And we didn't really realize he's listening in. We sort of just thought he's doing his own thing. So imagine, I'm looking this way, I'm talking, we're having all this fun for a good half an hour, right? And I'm completely saying, student school leaver program? No way, not possible. I'm gonna go uni, want to study PPE. This is gonna be the reality. And when we finished, I naturally turned around and this guy was there smiling. So put my hand forward. Hey, Mudassar. And he's like, hey, I'm Dan. Like, oh, hey Dan, what do you do? He goes, I'm the head of recruitment. And in my head, I was like, oh, I've just literally ruined all chances of ever working in this organization. But he said something. He literally was, look, I promise you, by the end of these 3 weeks, you're going to come to find me and you're going to say, I want to work here. And I'm going to give you a job. And I was literally like, sorry, I don't think that's going to happen, Dan. I'm South Asian, I'm Pakistani. Going to university is like an absolute necessity, right?
Your parents would be like, oh, we sacrificed so much to do this.
Exactly.
And
my dad's always been really big on education. My dad's got a degree himself from Pakistan. So education is really, really key for him. He's been to every parents' evening for all of his children, really vested in it. When it's exam periods, he'd be making sure you're studying.
Were you quite a high performer in school?
It didn't seem like it when I was in school, but looking back,
Because that why they singled you out with the 15 others?
Yeah, it was those that were doing good in exams.
Okay.
And thingy. I felt like in secondary school, I was a high performer. In sixth form, not so much. Sure. I think it was just the natural ego of secondary school that you sort of just take into sixth form where you're like, I can revise the night before and I'll get A-star, no problem.
Doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that in sixth form. So if there's any sixth formers listening, put in effort from day one. Follow the Brampton method. So when I did the 3-week internship, and it literally changed my life. I was like, wow.
What was it about it that changed everything for you?
It was the fact that I could be comfortable in who I am. So on that first Friday, so because it was summer and the program used to finish at 4 o'clock, I used to get home for 5 o'clock. I could read Zohar at home. So I never needed to ask for a prayer room. Thursday came and we were all like, okay, the 5-6 of us Muslims were like, what are we going to do? Jummah tomorrow. We get lunch from 12:30 to 1:30. The nearest mosque is Sadaq Mosque, which is about 30 minutes walk away.
Yeah, it's too far.
How are we going to do this? And we're literally just talking away between us. And one of the volunteers was listening and was like, hey, you guys talking about prayers? And we're like, yeah. He's like, there's a prayer room literally just behind this auditorium. We're like, is there? And she was like, yeah, let me go show you. And she literally took all of us out of the session, took us round to the prayer room, and non-Muslim, by the way, non-Muslim.
Wow.
Showed us. And she was like, here's where you wash up and here's where you pray. And it was a really big prayer room. Or, wuzu area, everything there. And we were just a bit flabbergasted. And we met a guy there who's actually a partner now at EY, alhamdulillah. He met a guy there and he was like, yeah, we do Jummah here, 1:30. Just be here. And then she herself, the volunteer, went back and told the main facilitator that tomorrow, 1:30 to 2 o'clock, these guys are going to go pray. And they were like, yeah, fine. So we felt really comfortable being ourselves, one. Secondly, you saw how big an organization like EY is. The names of the clients we were working with, and we got to do work with clients at 16, 17-year-olds. And it was just incredible, how much influence we had. And I just felt, I always wanted to do an office job, right? My mum used to watch Star Plus dramas and used to see, them talking about multi-billion-dollar deals, which are probably all fake, but they got their suits on and they're running businesses. So business was very natural to me.
What did your parents do?
So my mum worked while we were kids, but while I was in secondary school, she was sort of a homemaker. My dad's been in marketing and sales pretty much all his life. Started off in working in a grocery store and doing mini cabs at night and working in a leather factory, 3 jobs at the same time.
Wow.
Which I think is the struggle and story of many immigrant parents.
For sure.
So really hardworking, and then, worked hard and really, built a foundation for all of us, all 3 of his children, alhamdulillah. So I had all of that in my mind and I was like, you know what, this is a place where I'm going to work. So then I came home and I was like, I want to not go uni and I'll apply to this. And funnily enough, it was my brother who supported me because he knew EY. So my brother worked in finance. He was working in an investment bank. Then he moved to a public service organization. And he was like, if it's at EY, you should do it. It's a really big company. My dad was a bit still on the fence, And I was literally what I sold to them was what EY sold to me was, hey, look, if I start it, I don't like it, I can just go to uni the next year. It'll be like I've taken a gap.
Yeah, for sure. And it would only help, just having that brand on the CV, on your personal statement, rather.
Exactly. I'll be honest, I didn't think of that way. I was just literally if it doesn't work, uni's the way.
Sure.
So, finished my A-levels and started at EY 2014, 10 years ago.
2014, wow. So I never looked back since.
Never looked back since. If anything, alhamdulillah, Allah's given me the power to be able to influence so many of my younger cousins and nephews and nieces and other people in wider society who've gone and done internships and apprenticeships because they've seen someone do it and it's worked.
I was about to say, if it wasn't for your brother intervening, do you think you would have been able to do that? Fight back against your parents and say, not fight back, but, push back against their idea that you have to go to university. That's the only route.
I'll be honest, I didn't get that much pushback from my dad as I expected.
Okay.
Sometimes I think we instill fears in us that don't really exist.
For sure.
So I don't think I got as much pushback. I think my brother intervening definitely helped. Was it the deciding factor? I don't know. Maybe don't want to conflate his ego if he's listening. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. It definitely helped, right? Because he's my eldest brother. He's my parents' eldest child.
Did he go through university?
He went through the natural university route.
Okay.
And I feel like the university route, you can't discard it, right? It works for so many people. Working at 18 is not easy. A lot of people that joined with me left within the first few months because they wanted to go uni. They wanted that uni experience, and doing a full-time job and studying for an ACA, which is one of the hardest things to study for, is incredibly hard. And you sort of need a certain mindset, a certain focus, a certain shift in the way you do things to be able to do that at 18. So it doesn't work for everyone, but for everyone that I know, and I've mentored hundreds, I can't even name them. So many people I've spoken to that I've forgotten, and they've met me at events and be like, hey, you remember me? And I'm like, sorry, I don't. Or we had a 1 hour phone call about applying to EY and what I should do and what I did. And, I've been here for 4 years now.
No way.
Oh, incredible. I was applying to Deloitte and I wanted to speak to you and I spoke to you and, I'm doing really well here now. And it's really great to sort of hear those stories back.
So if you were to do it all over again, do you think you would do it exactly the same way?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Do it the same way, do a school leaver program, or what it's called now is an apprenticeship. I'm very particular about not saying apprenticeship because I've got a personal vendetta.
Why?
So obviously when you join work, you get paid in arrears, right? So you get paid at the end of the month. So being an 18-year-old, I was like, I need to go into the office every day. This is pre-COVID, 10 years ago. So it was £6 a day, right? And TFL. So bear in mind, before then, I've never paid for any travel. My secondary school and primary school were literally on the either end of my road. My sixth form, my mum pushed me to go to one that's a mile away because she's like, if you stay in this area, you're never going to get out and understand the world. Because I had a sixth form, which was a really good sixth form, by the way, literally on the end of my road. And I was like, I'll just go there. I was like, nope, you're going to go to this one because you just need to learn how to use the bus and get out of this little cul-de-sac.
It was a mile, you could have walked it.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, I did walk it most days, to be honest.
Okay.
I did walk it most days, to be honest, but weather, right?
Yeah, true.
So I was like, this is going to be really expensive. So I was Googling, how to travel cheap, travel hacks and all of this stuff. And it was like, oh, if you're an apprentice, you get 30% off at TFL. So I filled out all this form. At the end, they wanted a discount employer code for apprenticeships. So I emailed EY saying, hey, can I get this code? Because I'm going to get 30% off. They're like, sorry, you're not an apprentice. You're a school leaver because this is before apprenticeships was a thing. So we're not signed up to a formal apprenticeship program at that time. Now, EY's got a really good formal apprenticeship program. I think it's equivalent to a master's degree. Wow. Which is amazing. Okay. But at the time, I wasn't an apprentice, sadly. So I didn't save 30% off my travels.
Okay.
So now new apprentices, you can get 30% off.
Hopefully you can claim that back if EY is listening. But no, also it's really interesting because when I first started at Deloitte as a graduate, I'd gone through the typical university route, did 3 years undergrad, was meant to do a master's. Deloitte gave me an offer after a summer vacation scheme and I took it. I met school leavers there for the first time, and it never occurred to me before then that could have been a route. And they were killing it, right? They were 18 years old, they were hungry, and they just seemed so much more knowledgeable and so much more mature than a typical 18-year-old you might expect. And some of them stayed on, or they moved to an investment bank or somewhere else. Some of them went back to uni, right? So I know one guy who then went to Oxford and did PPE. She was saying, oh, by the way, so you were saying you had it in your mind you were going to be doing PPE, which is philosophy, politics, and economics. Why was that?
So in secondary school, I was, loved my science and maths, right? That was all I was doing. English was not my favorite subject at all. Okay. And we didn't have an English teacher for 3 years. We had a teacher that went on maternity leave twice, and we had supply teachers literally for 3 years. So English, never understood it. Actually never read a book cover to cover until 18. I didn't read Off Mice and Men, Romeo and Juliet, none of these things. It just wasn't my thing. I just numbers is my thing. My brain understands. Good at it. Chemistry, physics, good at it. When I was applying for college, in my college interview, the lady that was interviewing us was like, oh, so you're doing maths, further maths, chemistry. You should do like a humanities subject because it looks really good on your like UCAS application. I was like, I don't like writing and I don't like any humanities. She's like, do politics. I was like, I have no clue about politics. I don't read the news. I don't care about politics. It's so far-fetched from my imagination. She's like, trust me, do politics. It's going to be good. Like if you want a career in like business and banking and all this stuff, like politics is a really good subject to do. So reluctantly, I just signed up for it. And I'll be honest, like no one cared. I don't think I cared about my education as much then. I was just like, yeah, cool. Just want to get this interview done. Cool. You want to do politics? Cool. I'll sign up for it. But it actually turned out to be the best thing I did. Like it was my favorite subject, hands down.
Really?
It was so interesting, like learning about all these political theories, learning about how the British politics work. We had a brilliant teacher, Paul, who's absolutely phenomenal. Like he made me fall in love. Yeah, name's Paul. Fall in love with education. And I was just like, wow, I love politics. I loved it so much. I wanted to study at uni.
No way.
PPE was like one of the subjects that was like the most highly acclaimed subjects.
Yeah.
It's like really niche and you like learn about political theory and philosophy. And we did a lot of that in the second year of college, so your A-levels.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, Durham, or I think the closest one in London was Kingston. And I was like, Kingston's really far. I might as well just go Durham. Yeah. But this is without telling my parents because I don't think my dad would have let me go into Durham, if I'm being honest. So yeah, PP. And I still tell people that I would love to study PP and I still read loads about politics. I've got a book in the politics over there.
No way.
Yeah.
What do you think that's kind of what drew you towards a leadership role when it came to the EY Muslim community? I don't know. I'm trying to draw a connection here. Maybe it's not.
I don't think so. I think leadership comes naturally to me because of my parents. So both my mum and dad are the eldest of their siblings.
Okay.
And they've got quite a few siblings. So naturally everything happens at my house. Someone passes away, someone's getting married, some problems happening, some good things happen. Whatever's happening happens at my house or through my house in one way. So growing up, I always saw like my mum and dad making decisions and sort of leading things and just doing things, right? So it just became natural for all of us siblings. Actually, all three of us siblings are quite strong, like leaders to detriment because we're always arguing with one another.
Yeah,
we should do it like this, right? So we're all strong leaders in that sense. So like family functions, for example, my cousin's getting married in a few weeks, so I'm sort of organising that, and that's my job in nearly every cousin.
Wow, wedding planner as well. Should have added that to your list.
Sorting out weddings
of accolades.
Stuff, right? Or a few weeks ago, nearly 6 weeks ago now, my mum's Hala, which is auntie, passed away, so like my grandma. So sorting out her funeral and sorting out all the like arrangements that come with the funeral. So that, because my dad used to do it, it's naturally just passed on to us as kids.
So when you came to EY, did you feel like this is definitely something I want to do? You'd found the prayer room, you discovered at Jummah at that time, there were hundreds of other Muslims at EY in London. Did you think, okay, this is the community that I want to serve and build up here?
No.
Okay.
I've got a story for that too. I've got loads of stories. I can tell stories for days. So obviously came to EY, really busy, right? So I had a really good cohort and I had 3-4 Muslim guys who are some of my best friends now.
Okay.
And still are some of my best friends. So we were really close and connected together, which was great because we all prayed together, we worked together, we studied together, like everything was done together. It was like being at uni, if I'm being honest to you. And we had money to spend because we were earning. So we went on nice holidays and ate at the nice restaurants and all of this stuff. So I used to go to a prayer room just to pray. And you'd meet the same faces in the prayer room.
Yeah.
Right, and you'd had like, this time everyone's working from office and the only time you're not in the office is if you're at a client site. So you'd see the same 50, 60 faces like literally every day, more so in winter when I joined because the prayers are so condensed.
They're so close together.
Like you're literally just bumping into people all day. So I was like, this is awesome. We've got so many like Muslim guys here and we're all working. And it wasn't until July when we had our first Muslim network event. So I was signed up to this Muslim network because I heard about it from the guys in the prayer room.
When had you started working?
September.
September.
So I started in September, October, November, December, been really busy. So I was at client sites, January, February, March, still at client sites because it was audit busy season, which is quite famously known for its long hours. But then like April, May, June was more in the office, more relaxed, spend more time in the prayer room. I used to like go to Jummah, and after Jummah, I used to all go to Chicken Cottage, which is too far from here.
Yeah, right behind.
So we had this thing. So I was like, there's so many Muslims here, and it's great. And I really felt belonging, and felt like this is where I need to be. Then I was signed up to the Muslim network, and the only thing I would get is every Friday I'd get a Jummah reminder. Hey, Jummah today is 1:30. Can you please make sure you clean the wudu area, etc., etc. Normal stuff, right? And then July, Eid al-Fitr happened. So this is 2014. And we had an Eid dinner. I was like, oh, cool, free dinner. I'll be honest, right? Anything that was an event, I wanted to go just for free food, free drink. It felt like the best thing in the world, right? And not only me, like all the 18-year-olds,
of course.
right? Because it just felt like, whoa, what do you mean free? Like, let's go. So went to this dinner. It was at a place called Zaza's, which is now closed, right next to East London Mosque, right? In the basement.
Deloitte used to do those there as well.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's just a really good place to do it because there's so much space.
It's closed, isn't it?
Closed and so much space.
Yeah.
So I remember walking down the stairs, me and my mate, who's still with me. He's actually in Dubai now. We'll talk about Dubai.
Okay.
We walked downstairs and I literally looked in the room and I was like, I don't know anyone here. So there was about 100 people there. I was like, I don't know anyone here. Like, I've never seen any of these people ever. Because I've been here for about 9 months then. So anyway, sat down on a table and I was just like contemplating. I was like, I don't see any of the guys from the prayer room, like not even one guy. And then as I got speaking with other people and they were like, oh, when have you joined? I was like, September. I was like, and then I felt like it's rude to ask people, oh, I don't see you in the prayer room.
Yeah. But they could have been on client side.
There could be a million reasons, right? And I come from a part of East London where a lot of people are religious, but a lot of people hide sins, which is, I think, a good thing, right? So if anyone, drinks, they'll do it in hiding.
Yeah.
If anyone gambles, they do it slyly. If anyone's, doing whatever they're doing, they'll do it hidden away. Whereas when you come to the corporate world, you realize not everyone's like that. A lot of people will be openly drinking and happily drinking. And, some of my first experiences with Muslims at work was them and alcohol and be like, oh, this is fun. Like, you're drinking. But anyway, I came to this event and just started speaking to people and they were just like, oh yeah, like there's the bearded guys, like, the ones that are in the prayer room. I felt like there's a disconnect, right? So
Did you have a beard at the time?
I had a beard. I've never shaved. This
Really?
Beard from...
So this is like 12-year-old beard.
Yeah, probably.
So they saw them as like, they were almost, it was a tale of two halves. There were the guys seen as quite
conservative,
religious, extreme.
Yeah. I don't think extreme was, I think they were just like, these are the like super religious guys who just want to pray and work and go home and do nothing else.
Sure.
And we're like the fun crew who like to like mingle and network and do all this stuff. And I was like, well, I fall in both buckets. Like religion is very important to me. I don't like the word practicing because I feel like it has a lot of connotations, but I follow Islam to the best of my abilities. But likewise, I'm an extrovert. I like meeting people, I like connecting with people, and I love meeting Muslims. Yeah. Right? So I was like, where do I fall? So I felt a bit like, whoa, do I need to choose a side here? Like, do I need to be with my bearded brothers or do I need to be with the fun crew? So anyway, all this was festering in my head. And I was like, you know what? Let me join this Muslim network thing properly and just be like, try and get more of the guys to come. So I remember the next day I went to the prayer room. I was like, why were none of you guys there? Like, and obviously, most of the guys are from London. Most of them are from East London, just the way the Muslim community is split here in London. East London and West London were where most of the people were from. So like, where were you all yesterday? Like, bro, I ain't going to that, man. Like, I want to go home. I want to go like see my wife. Or I want to go see my children. I don't want this. I don't want to do this. Oh, it's not a nice place, blah, 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 whatever, right? And I was like, no. Like, next time you got to come. I was like forcing.
Why did you feel so strongly about it, that they had to participate?
Because I felt like, again, it's perception, right? Because they just think that it must be like this without going. I'm always I like doing things, experiencing them, and then making a judgment. Yeah. Right? And that's why I did the School Leaver program. I'm a doer, right? I need to do it. If I've done it and I don't like it, great. I'll never do it again. But if I've done it and I love it, who knows what the possibilities are. And that's my mindset with everything. I'll just want to do whatever comes my way.
Okay.
So yeah, since then, pretty much, that was 2015 July. I was like, I need to get involved. So I started very like mediocre tasks, writing the Jummah note. Okay. Which was fun. Started off literally by sending Jummah reminders. Then like, you know what, we can actually write a bit more in this. So started writing a little nasiha in the beginning. Nice. Then talking about like, oh, these are potential events coming up all over the city around Muslim things. So whatever's coming up, you'd Google it and just like put it in here. So I built it out. And now the Jummah note's like one of our most highly used form of communication. It goes out every week still and has so much more in it. It's literally like a newsletter that goes out every week. Alhamdulillah. So started with that and then slowly built my way into doing more until the partner sponsor one day just called me and said, hey, can you be the coach?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so they just literally pushed you into that leadership position. Yeah. You kind of were doing that. There was no one else filling that space.
So there were co-chairs and they all did incredible jobs because the reality is running a network, and it's not just for EY, it's for many and most organizations. It's what people do on top of their day job. Apart from one organization, I don't know any organization, and this is my day job, by the way, advising clients on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I don't know any client or any organization that pays people for doing like a network role, right?
I've never heard of that before.
Exactly. It's just on top of your day job. Yeah. And a lot of the people that take on network roles are generally senior people, so their work lives are very, very busy. So it's really hard for them to go and do 10 events in a year because that takes so much time, effort, energy, which they just don't have because they're either really busy with the work, and because they're really senior, it's because they've got loads of experience. They've probably got a family too. So then they want to spend time with their family naturally. So doing the network stuff, though important, it's sort of on the back burner naturally, just the way the things work. I think what the partner sponsor at the time saw was that I was young. Same with Eamon, by the way. Young, energetic, had energy, and had time.
So we should mention Eamon was the sisters co-chair, so there was a male
not
and
really.
a female.
So we just had a split of a guy and a girl. Like it doesn't need.
Oh, it doesn't always have to be a guy.
It doesn't always have to be.
Oh, no way!
And
I thought it was like an
sisters,
Islamic society head brother, head sister.
No. So it doesn't work like that. EY at least. Some organizations might have that, but EY is just like we can even have one. Like
Fine.
2 is good because it sort of spreads responsibilities.
Sure.
But you can even have 1, some have 3. Like you can play about with it. Right?
Okay, no way. Shout out to Eamon if she's listening.
Yeah.
By the way.
She's going to be mentioned a lot in the conversation naturally. So because we had it, we just got given the opportunity and we were a bit radical. Like we did lots of radical things. We did lots of radical things. So before we became co-chairs, so we was like, I was a secretary before I became the co-chair, and Eamon used to help out on sporadic different things.
Okay.
She might have had a formal title, which I can't remember. So sorry, Eamon, if you're listening. So 1st of July, that's EY New Year, we got appointed co-chairs. 2nd of July, we put a call in. And at this stage, the EY Muslim Network, as it was called then, had like 40 volunteers / representatives. So we had like a business, like we had a strategy, which was like 3 pages long. And we had like 5 pillars, and each pillar had 2 co-leads, and each 2 co-leads had people underneath. Like we just had loads of bureaucracy. Me and Eamon were just like, we don't need this many people. Like, why do we need 40 people? Why do we need a 60-page slide deck about strategy and plans and all this stuff? And we spend so much time doing it. Let's just do things. Yeah. So we said, okay, let's just tell everyone no one's got a role. It's just co-chair, and anyone wants to volunteer, will volunteer and help for an event. And our strategy in our first year was we will just do events.
Did anyone get upset by that? Because I don't know, optically it looks like 2 pretty young, early 20-somethings had come in, become co-chairs, and it sort of fired everyone. Yeah.
I think fired is a loaded term, right? I think it's just relieved. I think some people honestly would have been relieved because I feel like it was just a mental, we need to do stuff, but you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Some people might have been upset, but I think it got circumvented really quickly because we had so much growth so quickly that I don't think they could be upset. And the fact is, we didn't say to people who can't get involved, we said, look, we're not going to have leads because we don't need 5 pillars. We don't need any pillar. We don't need any leaders of pillars and all of this stuff. We're just going to do event after event after event. And if you've got an idea for an event, you can come and you can lead that event.
So that was the strategy.
That was literally
do as many events as possible within the year. What was the, I guess, North Star mission? What were you trying to achieve?
So what we're trying to achieve is the problem that I faced in 2015, which was to attract people from all walks of the Muslim life.
Okay.
To those who are super, super practicing and observant, to those who are Muslim by faith, but that's it.
Sure.
Okay. No action might be like
by faith or by culture, would you say?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Because some people, so I met so many wonderful people in my career, both at EY and outside of EY, sorry. And some people are like, I believe in Allah.
Yeah.
I believe in Prophet. I believe in Islam. I know it's a true religion, and I know I'm a sinner, but I sin.
Yeah.
And I drink, and I do this, and I do that, and I do whatever, but I'm 100% Muslim. And to me, that's 16-year-old me would have been like, oh my God, look at this sinner going Jahannam, 100% going Jahannam. But as I've matured and met more Muslims, I'm like, you know what? That's so much conviction in Islam.
Yeah.
That despite being so far away from all the elements that bring you close to Islam, you still believe so robustly in Allah and His Prophet and in Islam being the right thing. So I met all these types of Muslims. And then you have people who like networking events. You like people who like educational events. You like people who want to meet other Muslims and have dinner, and you meet people who just want to sign into a call and just quietly listen away in the background.
Yes.
So we just said we're going to do events for all types of people. We're just going to do event after event after event. That was literally the
only aim.
That was the only strategy.
So what was it, like 4 events a month or something?
We did 100 events in our first year.
Oh my God.
I say events, like we did 100 things in our first year. So like we ran like a Islamic finance workshop, which we did with a really great organization that was starting about that time. And we did like one a month, and we did it for 6 months. So that's 6 events to me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or we did like a Seerah session where we brought in an imam to speak about Seerah. We did that once every 2 weeks, and we did that for 12 weeks. So that's again 6 sessions. And then we had big blockbuster events. So what happened really quickly was we realized events attracts attention. Attention attracts influence, and influence attracts decision making. That's what we realized.
Thank you for listening to Muslim Money Talk. If you like what you've heard so far, you might be interested in checking out what we do at Kestrl, the Muslim Money app. Kestrl is a service that helps Muslims who want to grow their wealth without having to compromise, whether it's on their belief or user experience or price. I founded Kestrl because of how fed up I was at how poor Islamic financial services were in this country. Often people didn't use them because of how bad the user experience or customer service, and indeed how high on price they were. So Kestrl was the answer to that. If you download the Kestrl app today, it can help you by creating a budgeting plan. Plug in whatever bank account you have and it will create a auto budget just for you. You can then tell us what goals you're saving for and we'll save towards them automatically into pots, and then crucially link you towards Sharia compliant investment and savings products as well. So download Kestrl today and try it out for yourself. Now back to the podcast. And what did this do to you on a personal level? Because suddenly I feel like there was a point where your name was just everywhere, mashallah, and we would just say you were written about in the FT, a bunch of other organizations. You were on podcasts, Ayman as well, right?
Yeah.
You guys were doing all sorts of things and partnering with National Zakat Foundation. I think I spoke at one of your things once as well. So in the early days, right at the beginning of Kestrl, did you start to notice things were changing for you personally?
Yeah, I did. So naturally, right? So what we realized is, and this is the idea I give, so I advise a lot of founders. I don't know how, because I've not really founded anything, but doing the Muslim community.
Yeah, you're running it.
Running it, right? Well, I advise a lot of founders. What I always told them was, when you start up something is your baby, no one knows of it, right? So when I tell you to think about Microsoft, the first thing you think is Bill Gates.
Yes.
When I tell you to think about Tesla, the first thing you think of is Elon Musk. Humans interact with humans find connection with other humans. So we want to assimilate, we want to find the closest connection we can to something. And you can't find that to a brand, you can find it to people though. So what Ayman and I realized was we need to be bigger than the EY Muslim community brand initially, where anyone thinks EY, they think us. And that's only possible through social media. So we made sure we set up a social media page for the EY Muslim community, which alhamdulillah now has over 25,000 followers. Yeah, all organic, nothing sponsored, no advertisement, all organic. I've got, I think, 15,000 followers now.
You do?
Thereabouts.
Yes. I checked before this.
Oh, do I? Yeah. Ayman's got, lots of thousands of followers as well. Yeah. And so what we did was, we were like, we need to post about every success we have. Every event needs to be the biggest success we've had. I mean, to keep posting about it. And that's literally what we did. And the more we posted, the more people were like, whoa, EY does this. Whoa, this happened. And we did some really big things, right? Like we hosted MPs and barons and baronesses, and we hosted some of the biggest Muslim founders, including yourself. We hosted Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, who's one of the leading Muslim scholars in the world. We did really, really big things, right? And I look back at them very proudly. And naturally, that attracts attention.
Yeah.
We also did really big things internally at EY, as in Ayman had this wacky idea. So I wanted to do a Ramadan video because I used to see these really cool Ramadan videos from the Middle East. Like Uber did a really good one, and loads of different organizations did things that went on TV. And obviously John Lewis, I had just seen the John Lewis Christmas ad.
Yes.
So this was December and Ramadan was in April, I think, or May. I'd seen the John Lewis ad and I'm like, it's so cool to have something that people actually look forward to, that this is going to come. I was like, we should do one. And literally I remember I was reading Zohar in my loft in my old house. I finished Zohar and I was just sat on my musalla and I was like, we should do a Ramadan video. So I got onto my chair, messaged Ayman, and I was like, hey, you free for a chat? She's like, sure. And we spoke literally throughout the whole day, all hours. I was like, we should do a Ramadan video. She goes, it's going to cost a lot of money. And this is a good thing about me and Ayman. Sometimes I challenge her and she challenged me, and we'd sort of be the blockers. And
it was a very good co-founder relationship.
Alhamdulillah, we had a really great relationship in that sense. So she was sort of trying to rein me back, look, we've got so much going on for Ramadan already. We've got so many events. We've got so many things up till Ramadan happening before. How are we going to do this? And not only do I want to do a Ramadan video, I wanted to get senior leaders on there, and I wanted to get the UK chairman on there, and all this great stuff. And we had to build a script. And being at an organization like EY, we go through loads of QRM processes, which is great because it really helps you build
QRM, quality risk management.
quality and risk management processes. Sorry, do always ask me about acronyms. because we do love acronyms.
So that's basically, it's useful, it's good, but it can also act as a blocker and red tape almost to getting things done quickly.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
So like you got all of these considerations. So anyway, I was just like, look, I'll build a script today. And I literally like in an hour just wrote what I wanted for it to be. And I just wanted each person to say one line and it to flow from one person to the next person, Really easy to edit, really easy to record. Someone needs to just give us 5 minutes for them to say a statement. So we sent an email out. We were starting to draft emails to send out to some of the leaders we knew. And Eamon was just literally like, as a joke, she was like, shall I just send this to like Carmine, who was the global chairman and CEO at the time of UI? I was like, yeah, you might as well.
Had you had any interaction with him before?
We had with his team a little bit. So we done this quiz night, and one of the awards we kept was a 30-minute chat with the global CEO. So we had reached his team and said, hey, we want to do like this really cool initiative. He had just become the CEO as well when we became the co-chairs. So he was new in his role, and he really liked speaking to people. So we thought it'd be a good like thing. So we messaged his team again off a whim, and they responded and be like, yeah, this sounds really cool.
Wow.
Like, we'll do it. And then on the back of that, we got the head of Europe, the UK chair, like loads of different people on this quiz night award thing. Which was really fun. So we had spoken to him before, but I wouldn't say we had a relationship. So anyway, Eamon messaged him, literally emailed him, and we were just laughing about how like this is never going to get seen, like it's never going to happen. And while we were like talking to each other, literally like within a couple of minutes, he had responded back, sounds great, I'll do it. And like CC'd in like all these team and like, let's get this sorted. And we were both a bit like, oh damn, this has just gone up a level and how are we going to deal with this now? So really quickly we're like, okay, we can't just have him now. Like we can use this to like get more senior leaders.
Yeah, of course.
So we got like the head of each of our regions, the UK chairman, like all these people. And within a few weeks, we had like a ready to go video. And I think that's what really propelled us to success and fame. Like when that video got released, oh my God, it went viral to another level. We had over 1 million hits on LinkedIn. I had so many people message me saying, I want to do this in my organization. I've always been telling them we want to do this, but like they said no, but now I'm going to use this as an example to say, hey, if they can do it, why can't we? And so many in the following year, companies, and it's literally so many messaged me to say, hey, we made a video this year because of you guys. Incredible. And here it is.
But you guys were the first to do it.
I think there were organizations that did it, but they did it at a local or national level.
Yeah.
We're the first one to have a global. So being a global CEO of an organization like EY is a huge role. And I don't think we are able to experience or understand how big an organization like EY is and how big chairman of a company and organization like EY is.
Because the way these professional services firms are set up is that for each location, whether it's EY, UK, France, Lebanon, America, they basically function as separate corporations, separate private entities. And then you have one global chair who's kind of, I don't know, they're all feeding up to him.
Yeah, to an extent. So each country is its own member state, its own limited partnership or limited liability partnership. And then we've got an EY global organization, limited company, which is sort of like the strategic sounding board for them all. So they all feed into that in essence, in a way. But we got that done. And then when it went out, it went amazing. And then there were companies that did it, but not at that level and not such an influential person.
Yeah.
So this is a person who sort of speaks at the World Economic Forum. It's a person who speaks with presidents and prime ministers of countries and, has his own private jet because he's such, doing all these great things. Right. So it was great. It was great to have him involved. And so many companies did it. And that really propelled us. And in that same Ramadan, so this is 2021 Ramadan, we started our fasting challenge. Now this existed before. And it was done in organizations. So I can't say we started the fasting challenge. 100% was there. What we did was we were like, let's take this global A, but B, like, let's make it more, right? Before it was just, let's fast for a day. We'll do iftar together. Happy days. We're like, no, let's bring, like, you need to have like Muslims pray. So just, why don't you meditate at this time? Or if you're following another religion, pray at this time. Give your money that you would spend on food and whatever to charity, etc., etc. So we had one lady in part of our business in the UK who was like, I'm going to fast for a week. And she started documenting on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And she went viral. She was getting like...
A non-Muslim lady was doing this.
And she started posting every day on LinkedIn that today, I've just woken up for Fajr.
Wow.
And this is my 3 dates I'm eating and this. She was actually spotlighted by Islam Channel because her story literally went viral. To such an extent, we had people that are not in EY doing the EY fasting challenge. It was hilarious. I was clicking on the EY fasting challenge
I remember
hashtag,
that, yeah.
and it was literally like taking part in the EY fasting challenge from like Bangalore, or taking part in the EY fasting challenge from Luxembourg, and all these different countries and places. And I was like, this is incredible.
What do you think it was? Because I know people in other organizations who, especially recently, have really tried to replicate what you and Eamon achieved with the EY Muslim community, but it hasn't been as easy. There's been more red tape. It's been harder for them to action and get buy-in from senior leaders. Do you think you were very fortunate? Was it something separate about EY? Was it you guys? What do you think came together for it to become almost the perfect storm to allow your community to flourish?
So I think it was a mixture of a lot of things. First, it was COVID, right? So it's COVID. Everyone's working from home. Everyone's looking for something to latch onto. Everyone needed connection. Everyone needed simulation. Everyone needed familiarity. Everyone wanted to be somewhere comfortable. And people could join events because they had time, because they were just sitting at home. So an event at 6 o'clock online, they're like, yeah, let me do this because I've got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right. So that was one lucky thing. Second was, again, the point that I mentioned earlier about having your own personal brand bigger than the brand you're trying to build in its initial stages. Because people connect with people. Eamon, more so than me, to be honest, was very gracious of her time. And we've mentored and helped. Last time I was looking at it was 60 plus, and it's probably more, so I track all of this stuff, like 60 plus organizations set up or have had a Muslim network but want to like build it and expand it. 60 plus. And that's the advice we gave all of them. We said, when people think your company, that your name should be the first name they're thinking. And how do you do that? And it takes effort and it takes energy. So Eamon and I were doing each individually above our client hours and chargeable hours that we were working on. So our 9 to 5 basically, which is at 9 to 5. It's
Plus
like,
your exams as well.
I had finished my exams by then.
You'd finished your exams, okay.
Yeah, and Eamon didn't have exams as well. So I was qualified at this stage. So when we did it, we were like spending 20 to 25, sometimes 30 hours a week working on the Muslim network on top of our day job.
On top of the day job.
Now, again, it was COVID, so we were lucky because we had, again, the time and capacity to do so. But even after COVID, we continued doing that. Even I stepped down last year, September, October. And even till then, I was doing 25, at least 15 in my lowest weeks.
Wow. So it was basically a startup.
That's what I'm saying. It's like building. It was like building
that on the side. And I guess I've got so many questions that we're limited by the time, unfortunately. But how did you know that you reached a point where you thought, okay, if I step down, this is going to continue? What was there some kind of trigger point and you thought, okay, if I leave this, it's not all going to fall apart?
Yeah, there was. And to answer that, I just want to go a bit back because I think your last preceding question sort of helps me answer this question as well. Yeah. So it was building your personal brand, and we had built that personal brand, and it comes through hard work. So you got to be really good at your day job. If you're not good at your day job and you're doing all of this extracurricular per se activity, it's going to look bad on you. Like, you can't do your day job. Why are you doing all of this extra stuff? Focus on your day job. So we had to be really good on our day job, and then be really good at this stuff. And then we had to build relationships. So we put time in with senior people, realizing actually the key to senior people is not themselves, it's their EAs, which is assistants, basically, or PAs equivalents. Or it's like the chief of staff they may have, the relationship manager, or the PR manager, or whatever it may be. Build those relationships, invest time, energy, effort into it. And also posting on social media, which takes a lot of effort. I mean, you do it quite a lot, right? So it takes effort, it takes time. Yeah. And for us at EY, we got to go through, again, quality and risk management.
Was it mainly
processes.
LinkedIn you were using?
LinkedIn was the main source. So we did so much. And going at events, there was a time when I didn't have dinner at home for 6 weeks straight.
Were you married at the time?
I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Okay.
And this is why I was going to come to my answer. So this is the time of your life when you're young, you're maybe not married, you don't have a lot of obligations and duties and responsibilities, where you can really excel and do all these wonderful things, right? Sure. And that's what we both did. So we both weren't married at this time. So we were spending so much time doing this, and it was like building a business. And we built it like a business. So we had metrics for ourselves to measure against. We had a budget naturally that we used to look at that. We used to think about how we're going to get more people in, how we're going to attract more audiences, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that. It was literally like running a business end to end. Alhamdulillah, it went brilliantly. But now the biggest part of running a business is succession planning. And we've seen time and time again, someone comes in, does really good, brings everything to the forefront, and then it just whistles down when it's gone to the next person. So Eamon and I were always very cognizant of that. That's when we realized actually a bit of bureaucracy is needed. So we started bringing in like specific roles, like we need someone to lead up communications, someone to lead up social media.
Right.
We need like a secretary person who can sort of just be coached to be a coacher. And we did all of that. And then Ayman moved to the Middle East. So Ayman actually first
Mashallah, Ayman got married,
had a baby,
yes,
and then moved to the
mashallah.
Middle East. So while she was in her maternity leave, I was like doing it alone.
Yes.
I was like, okay, you know what? Imagine I go and leave as well today. Like, I don't want this all to crumble away. This is years of hard work. In 3 years, we had probably done like 30 years worth of hard work. Like, I don't want this all to run away. So we like need a succession plan. So the new coaches, Aisha and Hassan, were very, very involved. They used to be really active. Again, both very young, both not married, both had time and energy and effort and had the willingness and courage to lead. Aisha actually met in her first week at EY. And I met her through like a coffee with a colleague initiative we had as a Muslim network. I got off the call and I messaged Ayman and I said, this is going to be our future coach here. And Ayman literally
Why?
laughed.
What did you identify in her?
Honestly, to this day, I can't answer that question. I just don't know. I just knew when I spoke to her, and she wasn't, at the time, she was still an 18-year-old. She was quite timid compared to what she is now. She was just trying to find her feet. And this was her first week at EY. And I literally said to her as well, I said, I think I'm going to be the new coach of the Muslim Network one day. And she was like, yeah, cool. And today, alhamdulillah, she is the coach of the Muslim Network.
SubhanAllah, wow.
And Ayman laughed at me at that time as well. She's like, you just spoke to her like for 30 minutes. How do you know? Sometimes, Allah naturally puts in our mind, certain things. Like,
Yes.
Things are going to work like this. And they miraculously do. But succession planning was very important. So we gave them the opportunity to do something. So naturally, sometimes I'd be like, I'm not going to come on this call. You're going to speak with whatever senior person it is. Good luck. Let me know how it goes. Or I'm just going to review things. I'm not going to write things anymore. And I need you to write. At times, they might have been hating me because there was lots of things to do. And even before I left, we were doing event a week to 2 weeks. So loads of things are going on. Loads of reviewings are going on. So alhamdulillah, it was good. Then I got married. Ayman had already been married. I got married. And my wife, bless her, she gives me lots of flexibility and, I'm able to do all the weird and wonderful things that I still do. But it came to a time where I was like, you know what? It needs to go on to the next generation whilst I'm still here. Because they need to be able to take on the learnings I have, but still have that support structure around them, not just sort of being thrown in the deep end. They don't need to rebuild all the relationships Ayman and I have built because we're still here. And to this day, they still use that, right? So I've got a black book of contacts.
Yes.
From
So you're still very much involved.
very much involved, but I purposefully step back. So I don't want to get more involved than they want me to get involved because I don't want them to feel like I'm stepping on their feet.
It's so interesting because since you've stepped down, I would argue we've gone through one of the more turbulent periods for Muslims in this country, in at least within our living memory. So we've seen widespread societal unrest, the protests that happened, a lot of it directed towards Muslims. How did you feel having set up a community that it sounds like was so well integrated within a big multi-faith, whatever organization like EY? And it sounds like everyone was kind of supporting it, supporting the Muslim community, which you don't really see. In a lot of companies and a lot of universities, a lot of them run the risk of the Islamic society or Muslim community, whatever it is, almost seeming like a silo and people not really wondering, people wondering what's going on there, almost seeming like a black box. But I think what worked for you guys so well is that you almost broke down those walls and you invited people in. Fast for a day, check this out. This is how we pray. This is what Ramadan is, right? And that really, I think, is a huge, huge part of your success, mashallah. But how did you feel when all of this was going on? Did you notice anything within EY or within the professional world in general when it came to that?
I think the reason why we were so successful with non-Muslims is we made it really easy as coaches to be asked the stupid questions.
Like what?
Like, for example, a manager once was like, can I speak to you? Like, yeah. It's like, so I know you're the chair of the Muslim Network. I had a question on prayer. So I'm thinking, oh, yes, maybe interested in Islam. I'm going to tell them loads about Islam. I was like, yeah, sure. What do you want to know? Like, so I've got this colleague, junior colleague, who's just joined from another country, tells me he needs to pray. So I said, fine, you can go pray. But he's gone for like an hour at like 1 o'clock. And then he comes back for 30 minutes. And then he's gone for another hour at like 4 o'clock. And this was winter when Zohar and us were together. I'm like, I can't think of any prayer that's going to take like an hour both ways, right? So I was like, you know what? Let me speak with him and I'll just let you know like what's going on because I genuinely don't know. And I'm also very conscious that people might be doing things differently and whatever. So I called him up, and he was a lovely, lovely, lovely brother, right? And he's a topic to work.
Okay.
It's like really, really nice guy. So I called him up. Assalamu alaikum, bro. How you doing? He goes, Assalamu alaikum. I was like, how's your new project going? He goes, it's brilliant, man. I get to go to the masjid every day to read my Zohar and Asr.
Oh,
I was like, oh, okay. Like, how come you're going to the masjid? And this is when we were in the office.
was he walking to Southwark?
He was walking to Southwark.
Okay, that explains.
I was like, oh, how come you're going to the masjid? He goes, bro, I got a prayer. Where am I going to pray? We got a prayer room here, man. And literally on his face, he was just like, what?
So he just had no idea.
He had no idea, because where he had come from, there was no prayer rooms and offices, right?
Okay.
So he had just moved to the UK and then moved to EYNU.
Right.
So it was just like, what? I was like, yeah, like, just go downstairs in low ground and you can pray. He goes, no way, bro. I've been doing like 25,000 steps a day. Like, I've been praying in the masjid, and like, I've been telling my mom, like, this new company is so good. I'm spending 3 hours of my day outside, like trying to get to the masjid and coming back and stuff. And it was just naivety.
Yeah.
But what it does for the manager is, and obviously he realized, and he was only out for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever he needed, right? But what we did was we did so many like informative sessions around educating non-Muslims, because we posted so much on social media. It made people comfortable to ask us questions. And I had some really senior leaders who would come to me with say really specific problems and be like, how do I solve this? And what that does is, we as Muslims, we have a communal obligation to educate those around us about Islam.
Yes.
And a lot of us think that da'wah is just about making people revert to Islam, which ultimately it is and should be, but it's also about making them realize what is Islam. And you can only do that through conversation, dialogue, and interaction. So we made sure we were consistently talk about Islam in different faith forums, right? So not only like when we posted on LinkedIn, hey, it's Ramadan, we wouldn't just say it's Ramadan, everyone, like catering to the Muslim audience. Most of our posts were catered for non-Muslim audiences, for them to be educated. Ramadan is this. It's celebrated in this way. It's obligatory for you to do this. We used to publish a Ramadan guide, which we still do in Ramadan, which was for non-Muslims. Like, how do you deal with Muslims in Ramadan? Like, what do you need to be aware of? What do you need to be cognizant of, etc. So that built a culture where people felt comfortable to ask questions. And when, things happen over the last few months, people are very confident and comfortable to have those questions, ask people questions, share insights. Now you got to be aware that, when you're working in an organization with people from different backgrounds and different views, you've always got to have a level of respect for different viewpoints, which is hard to happen. And it's hard for you to consider different viewpoints, especially around things that you might really strongly believe in, right?
Of course.
But the way you really strongly believe in something, someone else also really strongly believes in it, right? So in an organization like EY and any big organization, there's so many challenges that come to play when things like this happen. But ultimately what you realize is good is good and bad is bad. And people are very able to sort of classify, good is good and bad is bad. And you have conversations, and, places like EY are built based on the way they use their people to really go out and win work and work with some of the biggest companies in the world, solving some of the biggest problems in the world. So EY's biggest asset is its people. And it has to foster a culture where people can communicate with one another. Our motto is better questions is better answers, is better working world. And that's what we're spurred to do. But we're encouraged to ask questions from one another. So in my core team, for example, when things happen, I was like, you know what? I feel let down by myself, because I should have made myself more open, accessible for you all to ask me questions, because you're all seeing it on the news, like I'm seeing it on the news, but you're probably not confident enough to ask me a question about how I'm feeling, because you don't want to maybe upset me or distress me.
You just opened the door to that immediately.
And I opened the door to that, and we had such a brilliant conversation. We had so many follow-on actions from there.
What were some of the highlights of that conversation? Do you remember?
Yeah, for me, I think it was people sort of owning up and saying sorry that they didn't reach out to check in because they just didn't know how to. And some really senior leaders reaching out and saying, hey, hands up, like I just didn't know how to react, and I didn't know what to do because I didn't know how it was affecting people. Like, it's just really alien for me. And you got to appreciate that, right? It's really easy. And I feel like sometimes as a community, we make this mistake of pointing the finger really quickly. And
go on the offensive.
We go on the offensive, like, either my way or the highway. Yeah. But what I've realized over the years, alhamdulillah, communicating with so many people from so many different backgrounds, is intrinsically the human mind is a beautiful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The human mind, Allah has blessed with goodness, Allah has blessed with khair, and generally people are good. right? And you got to have that mindset and belief. And it's quite a prophetic way of thinking, right? The Prophet ﷺ always assumed the best in people. And I think it's a quality that a lot of us lack, that we don't think the best of people. We think, no, you must have done this because of this, rather than just give them the benefit of the doubt. I think over the years, because of my mentors and because of the people I interact with, I've realized that you gotta always think the best of people.
I would say you became very politically savvy over those 3 years. Like, I mean, you knew how to work the system. You knew how to curry favor with people very, very senior. And I think you managed to achieve what a lot of people were not able to over the last few months within their organizations, in that you created a safe space to talk about these issues, which unfortunately big organizations on par or even bigger than EY, people just felt completely, unheard, unrepresented. People just didn't want to know or acknowledge their feelings and what they were going through over the last 365 days of what's been going on. So, mashallah, real credit to you. And I think it's going to have, inshallah, a continued impact at EY for the entire Muslim community and other faith groups as well.
Of course.
So, yeah, incredible. We're running a little short on time, but I wanted to move on to the money portion of this. We are a money podcast.
Yeah.
So over the years, 10 years of this, obviously you didn't go through university. You started off with an internship, a summer vacation scheme, and is that what was it called?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was summer vacation, then internship, and then that led to a school leavers program and all of that. How has your perception of money changed, and what do you think is the biggest mistake Muslims make when it comes to money?
Brilliant question. How has my perception of money changed? So we've got new graduates that joined us in September, and I was having lunch with one of them today, and I was telling them I knew I changed social class when I went from a Tesco meal deal to getting a sandwich from Pret. Right? So when I joined, every day was a Tesco meal deal.
Yes.
£3 every single day, right? Nothing more. Having a chicken cottage, which was like $4.95, was like the epitome of expenditure.
Yes.
And nowadays, like I can go to Pret and probably spend like £12 on lunch.
I think you have to with the prices.
You get it, right? And you don't even bat an eyelid, right? So that's the short answer. But I think the reality is, as you grow older and you get more financial awareness, you start earning more money, you also get responsibility once you get married or you bought a house and all of this stuff. Your perception of money sort of fluctuates. So I went through when I was 18, I was like, money is endless. Like even £1,000 felt to me like it was like £1 million.
Yes.
Right. The money's endless. Like I can do whatever I want because I had no outgoings in essence. I can do whatever I want. I'm the king of the world. Until you get to like your early 20s, for me anyway, as a school leaver, like, okay, actually, no, you got to save. Like, you're going to buy a house and you're going to get married and you're going to need a car and you need all of these things. I need to save my money. And I went through a really good phase of a few years where I saved, scrupulously, and I was doing so good. And COVID really helped because I wasn't out every day.
Of course.
So I was saving so much money. And then when I got married initially, it was tough financially for me. Not in the sense that I was struggling with my finances, just being like, wait, what do you mean I gotta pay for this, and the wedding cost this much, and this cost this much, and I had bought a house at the same time. So I got married, I bought my house, renovated my house all within like 6-7 months of each other, right? So it was all these big life decisions I did sort of in one go, right? So they say moving house is like the second most stressful.
I was about to say the 3 most stressful things are marriage, moving house, and funerals. Yeah. Yeah.
So I did 2 of the top 3, right, together. So I went through a real phase of, oh my God, like I'm going to be poor for life. Like what's going on? Like I didn't understand like what bills were and how things were going on. And this was someone who's worked in finance since 18, right? Yeah. So I can only imagine how it is for someone who doesn't.
And you were 25?
I was 25 at the time. Yeah. 25 at the time when I got married and bought a house. Yeah. So I was like, subhanallah, like.
MashaAllah, that's almost unheard of now. I mean, for buying a house at that age.
Of course, unheard of, but also like, I was just like, where's all my money gone? You get what I mean? And I was scared. I'll be honest with you. I was scared. I was like, what is the future? Like, I need to be earning like 10 times what I'm earning, like to get the same amount of savings. And then my dad one day was literally like talking to me and he was just like, how's it going? And I'm like, how did you do this? Like, have you been doing this for the last like 40 years? Yeah. And it's like, you'll get used to it really quickly. Like it'll just become second nature for you. And then you'll start taking pride in it and you'll start taking ownership of it. And that's what's literally happened after a few months, once it's sort of settled and you realize, actually, this is how much I earn, this is what my outgoings are, this is how much I save. Things are okay. And you get used to it. And the human body and human mind is very good at adapting. And once it does something regularly, it just adapts to it and it becomes natural and normal. So now for me, it's natural and normal now. Like I'm really good and aware of my money. I have some brilliant friends who work in the Islamic finance scene and just the finance scene in general. So I get so many good tips from just being in and around them, like where the best saving accounts are.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really buy stocks and bonds and stuff, but like these are the best stocks to buy and like hold this for now this long and sell this here and do this and do that. So I've got a real good group of friends around me and networks around me, which is really helpful. In terms of, you know, Muslims you mentioned and, you know, there's some brilliant stats from Muslim census around Muslims in poverty, which I'm sure you've probably seen, right?
For sure.
Brilliantly harrowing is what they are, right?
Yeah, I mean, Muslim census found, first, Islamic Relief said 50% of Muslim households are living below the poverty line. That's compared to 18% of general people in the UK.
Yeah.
Muslim census found 1 in 5 Muslims since 2021, August 2021, have used a food bank. 20% of Muslims, which is almost unimaginable, but it is what's happening.
Yeah.
And then you think about, there must be such a dichotomy between the professional working Muslims, perhaps here in London, and what's going on outside of the big cities.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. And I think this is why it's important as Muslims and even as people in society, right? Being really close to your community. So alhamdulillah, like my family is very community driven. So my granddad came to this country in the 60s, I think. And, you know, was part of that generation that set up the first mosques and set up the first religious organizations, first halal butchers in London, like all of these big momentous occasions, like my family and family friends and like relatives and people that I still, you know, interact with. These are the ones that are responsible for all of that stuff, right? So being in that space, again, alhamdulillah, very lucky by chance or, you know, by Allah's will, more accurately, to be in a place where I got all of that community from a very young age. So for me, community is still big. And that's what helped me really build the Muslim community as well.
Yes.
Because for me, community was like, this is the most important thing. You got to be in a community. You got to be together as Muslims.
But do you think it almost became an echo chamber? Because like you said, you never imagined you'd be doing something like this or in working in financial services. Your brother had, of course, done it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do you think maybe that's one of the downsides of our communities?
I think it was. I don't think it is anymore. And I think it's a societal change, right? Remember, a lot of the Muslim immigration into the UK happened in like the 70s and 80s, right? So the first gen of Muslims that went into the corporate workplace were very small and they were in like the 90s. So small. So it's not until now where like the Muslim generation are like second, third, fourth in some cases generation here now, where they're a lot more assimilated. They're here to stay in essence, right? They're part of the British culture. For them, a corporate job is like anything, right? It's like starting a business. Whereas before it was always, no, we've got to stay within our own area. We've got to start a shop here. We'll make a fast food takeaway. We'll open a butcher shop. We'll open a grocery store. We'll do whatever it is, but we're going to stay here because these are our people. To now being like, actually, the world is my oyster and I can do anything and everything. And I think it's amalgamation of a few things, right? Timing in terms of migration, access in terms of social media, being aware of, actually, there's so many Muslims. And like, I still remember we did a World Hijab Day thing online and a lady messaged me literally saying, hey, thank you so much for this post. I wear the hijab. I'm applying for jobs. I never in a million would have thought I could have worked at a place like EY. I've been applying for like teaching roles and all of this stuff, even though I want to work in finance.
Because she wore a hijab.
Because she wore a hijab. She goes, I just didn't think you could wear a hijab and be successful in a corporate organization. So I was applying for like local council roles and like schools and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just like you got to take a step back and just be like, whoa, how much impact does a social media post that it's never catered for her realistically, right? She was never my target audience, but how much impact it has. I've had people like message me saying, hey, like I joined the workforce in the 80s. I had to shorten my name to Mo, even though my name's not Mohammed. I just call myself Mo because they couldn't say my name. Had to hide my religion, hide my faith, to now seeing in that same organization, and he wasn't talking about EY, he was talking about another organization, to see my same organization having a fasting challenge and fast as a Muslim. And he goes, I just want to say thank you for making that change. And subhanAllah,
that's insane.
And you step back and you think, wow, we've had so much impact. So I think social media has really helped break those echo chambers, but it's also sort of broken down communities because people are like, oh, I don't need a community anymore. I've got my online community, right? I can just chill with them. But having an in-person community, being attached to your local mosque, local religious organization is so critical. Like for me now, every Thursday evening, I don't care what's happening. I don't care if the world is falling apart. Thursday evenings are my mosque nights. Everyone knows it. Friends, families, clients, colleagues, everyone knows. Like Thursday evening, out of touch. And for me, that's the best part of my week. It's the highlight of my week. I'm at mosque. We have a class. After that, we have a Q&A session, which sometimes goes on to like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning, right?
Wow.
And it's just incredible just being around other Muslims, learning, being in a nice, safe environment. I'm like, yeah, this is like how the Prophet ﷺ and his companions were feeling together, right? Just being together and just sharing and learning and developing, and and it naturally leads on, right? Those people are some of my best friends now. Like, we interact regularly. We're like family friends. Like, we come to each other's houses, and we've known each other for so many years now because we've grown up as kids doing it, right? And now these are people that are business owners, people that work in some of the biggest organizations in the world. And that's a network, right? And that's happened as a result of being in a community. And I do feel really, really sad when I hear from people, Muslims. I heard from some Muslims in a town in Wales, which has 12 Muslim people in it, 3 families, right?
Wow.
They travel 3 hours to Cardiff to get halal meat, which they buy for a month, and come back. And then that's how they do it. That's how they do it. And I was like, imagine being a Muslim there. And it's tough. So social media is really good for those kind of people because they get that sense of community and they get that online friendship and really build all of that. But for Muslims who are in big cities that have huge Muslim populations, I don't think there is anything that can replace in-person community. Get to your mosques, like really build out that. And remember, like, mosques are not just for prayers. We always make the mistake of saying, no, the masjid is just for salah.
It's just for Jummah.
It's just for salah, just for Jummah, that's it. No, the mosque is a community hub. It's where you're going to develop the next generation of Muslims.
Yes.
And that's what we're seeing now. Like, we do so much outreach for younger Muslims now. Like, our Imam famously says, like, don't tell the kids off for like laughing and playing and running in the mosque, because the mosques which don't have kids laughing in the back today are the mosques that are going to be empty tomorrow.
Yeah.
So these are the next generation. So we've got to spend time with them. And it's a bit harrowing that like we're sort of, there's a generation below us now, right? I still see myself as a kid, even though I've got a beard and loads of white hair now. I still see myself as a kid. So to feel like there's a generation, so there's kids at the mosque that call me uncle, and I'm just like, uncle? What? Like, how? So make use of
You're still young to me, but that's it.
Make use of the community. And the poverty point, it's a reality of migration, right? A lot of us come from really, really humble backgrounds, came to this country, and it's not always easy. And we always hear about the success stories, but the reality is it's very hard for a lot of people. And again, this comes back to my point of community, that when you're in a community, you can make changes. So my local mosque, for example, realized loads of students have come over the last 3-4 years to study, but they've been sold a dream when they were there, like, oh, you're going to study in the UK and it's going to be brilliant and you can work and you can do this. Reality is you can't do so many things. And even if you work as a student, you're getting limited hours, limited pay, you really struggle. And then you've got financial burden or responsibility for back home. So we've started like feeding students every day in the mosque. Every day there's
Which
food
mosque
available.
Is this?
This is in Walthamstow. It's a place called Darul Uloom, Qadriya Jilaniya. And it's absolutely incredible. Like every day, maybe 10, 20, 30, some days, hundreds literally turn up. And it's harrowing because you're a bit like, you're meant to know as a Muslim if your neighbour's eaten or not, right?
Yes.
And neighbour is considered in Islam 40 houses to your left, 40 houses to your right, as in your community, right? And so many of us won't know if our neighbour, like who our neighbour is and what they do and if they're eating. And being in that environment makes you really thankful for Allah's blessings.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many blessings, alhamdulillah. We've got so many things to be thankful for, so many successes, but ultimately we get judged by our shortcomings.
Yeah.
And it's a communal obligation upon us all.
And I think that's true integration. That's the best way of showing Islam, looking after your neighbors.
Exactly.
And just opening the door, making an environment like you did, where people felt comfortable asking all kinds of questions.
Exactly.
Incredible. Mudassar, we're out of time, but that was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to have you back in the future.
Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you for listening to the Muslim Money Talk podcast. If you like what you heard, then please subscribe to Muslim Money Talk wherever you might have been listening to this. Give us a like and share it with someone who you think might be interested. It really, really helps us out. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, and see you next time.